I will be reading a poem by Priscilla Uppal from the issue, because of course I had to review an issue and I'm not going to read the review. A diorama of your anger drifts downstream. It's not in a rush, heavy, plump, enjoys the splash of water on skin, mud, on frame, speed builds in time. Your anger has built a raft, a life jacket, even scuba diving equipment. This anger goes deep and turns exotic colors. Parts of its species are yet to be named. To onlookers, the ordinary calculated occurrence of aberration, deviation from an outside temperature gauge, a Coke can or an olive branch, a tear off a teenager's sweater, a plastic lunch bag. Sometimes fishermen bait you, then throw you back. Not famous enough, can't compete with no feet for the mob to kiss, then trample. Patience, rumors study maps of the falls. Ancient men sing songs of grief, you drag their notes along. And a piece of mine. Alexandria, a quarter mile. Just enough light for this to be annoying. Depthrise used to take the horse, cutter, town, the village. Slip, a documentary, blink. White rain, a frozen sky is gathered dust. Or highway when the dog hit, bear sparks. White air is heavy, great emptiness of slush, sleek, shoulder flow. The tire tracks a name, small highways memorize, a marriage. Of buildings settlers long forgot, shadow of a shadow. How to write in poems when the stores close. Most folk here drive an hour, work the city shore. Barns abandoned, decompose, return to. Small town symmetry, silky green, provincial Maine, spring melting snow. And the next reader is Pearl Peary.
That's bright. So in this issue, everyone can hear me? Can people hear me now?
A little bit.
How about now?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, in this issue, there's a series of poems by Gillian Wigmore called From Imaginary Ontario, and I'm just going to read one of the sections. Section 2. Stone-bottom buildings like barges on the field, humble-use buildings like barns and outhouses, all built with quarry stone, standing still, so I can picture settlers with such long-distance view. They built with grandchildren's children in mind, flying past on highways, plural, whereby it's illustrated the sparsity of roads, the lack of shortcuts, the need in B for imagination to get one from one God-forsaken place to another. I see roofs crumbling into foundations that look like Roman ruins, just going from London to Ottawa, just going from one place to another, stone barns sailing on undaunted. And I'll read one from me. And this is from Between Stations, which is coming out from Obvious Epiphanies Press later this year. Dusk. Oh, and I should note, sunrise Tellin is a type of seashell. Dusk. Lights we feel enclosed, dark, steel clamshell, cartilage is foreign, bones, slump, muscled, frown, carved. The wind side of glass, darker, rough ground. Machine is a glove, bare-backed land, I only look, untouched. Being porcelained, sleepless, cedars silhouette themselves. Sunrise Tellin skies, grandpa's glare, nacre of reflection. We are halogen, newsprint marked, from sounds, make-believe meanings. Texts faster than wheels, slower than land. Speak wind, blued reeds, blackbirds' calls. Dusk, children gather. Wait, I've fallen into lithographs of acrylic decades. And the next reader is Lori Graham.
Can you hear me if I stand to my full height here? I hope so. Thank you, ARC. Thank you, Elise. And thank you, Tree, for having me. I wouldn't have missed this for anything. I'm going to read the poem that's published in the new issue of ARC, but first I'll read one from another fine journal called Subterrane out of Vancouver. Lovely artwork in this issue. They published 2 of my poems, and please do check them out if you have the chance, and if you haven't already, they are quite marvelous. This poem is called Derwent Hotel. My mom grew up in the town of Derwent, Alberta. And that's what this is about. Derwent Hotel. How tight you've sewn yourself into my mother's chest. As we stand beyond your galvanized embrace, flanking the man who, woeful, regular, spent her childhood within you. Here beside the rail line, this track of weeds and mud, you rear up hard-won and mint green at the open end of Main Street. I aim my dinky camera at your ribbed proscenium expanses. A Trailblazer, a Silverado, an F-150 tuned to the tavern sign. And all I can think, I want to go in you for a drink. And this from ARC called Road Risk. Sand, butts, the lot dozed almost clean. We drink plumes of exhaust, asses frozen from curb sitting the max, clean rows of caravans huffing wax soap, their jumpy exits from the car wash. They can't see us, our lips around a cache of cast-offs caked in road grit and Rocky Road lipstick, until a girl jumps up to polish a hood, to mug a yes ma'am, no ma'am, headlights flaring her into a road risk, and you can't trust that woman's foot on her brake, the unlit eyes. I'll take you to the cleaners, the girl says. Just try it. Our next reader, well, please say welcome to Allison Shaw.
I'd also like to thank ARC Magazine for having me here and Elise Partridge for mentoring me. The first poem I'm reading is one that's published in ARC, and the second one is not published, but it's one that Elise helped me with. So, Paper Sailors. Paper boats adorned with magic markers skim across flooded streets. We laugh, steering with our breath. Rubber boots scatter droplets as the ships jolt and collide, painting spirals on the water. All sailors aboard playing Ring Around the Rosie. Sails snag in summer winds, hulls spring leaks, and water sloshes onto sodden decks. We do not hear the cries of drowning paper sailors as they vanish between the waves like wishes in a fountain. And the second poem. Ice fishing. Once I saw 2 fishermen carve a hole in the ice and drop their lines like blue herons dipping their bills into the water. Their laughter rose with the campfire smoke to where the tips of the pine trees meet the northern lights. Late into the night, the fishermen's voices slipped through cracks in the ice, and their conversation remained frozen until the end of March when the snow melted and their words rushed over the riverbanks and into the earth. And our next reader is Bardia Sine. I'm sorry if I said that wrong, but...
Can everyone hear me? I can't see you, so you'll have to say. Smoke Reynolds says he hitchhiked to Montreal for drywall work after they kicked out all the non-Catholics and Tucker's Deli was pulled down, battered horse post and all. Says he wed a Mormon, ditched her for poker, then ditched poker halfway through a hand with a bust of St. Isabel and hitched to Tucker's to replace the cross he'd broke that weekend. Fell to his knees at the door sign. Wide-eyed retrieval, he says. Torched the place to ash, drank a toast to lean creditors. His version ends there. Sits most days now, cleans a lot, smoke, solemn, scrubbing, never says about heading back. Says God doesn't want him there. Says he'll see Tucker soon. Someone left a pair of red reading glasses in the right washroom. Don't forget that. The second one is not in the issue. It's called 4 Ways to Eat Your Dandelion. 1. Misanthropes, consider our public parks. More trees than a hawk's beard has feathers, jogging paths to discover spandex and revel in the names of dogs. 2. Protesters and false prophets may demonstrate for themselves within the free speech zone between the waterfowl preserve and the experimental farm. 3. From the roots up under marble shrines for those late onset philanthropists whose descendants today fly coach for our secular libraries and museums. 4. For representatives and councillors at the municipal level, catered affairs are encouraged, both for the local economy and as a chance to compare spouses. Next up is Christine McNair.
Hi. Thanks very much to Tree, and thanks to Elise, who wrote me a lovely letter and was very generous with her comments. I'm just going to read one because I'm terribly unorganized. And I meant to bring 2, and then I didn't. And so I'm going to read the one that's in this lovely issue of ARC. So please go buy it because it's very nice. Okay. Provenance. Unmake me before morning, unhitch the straps and pull apart seams, discover the tracery of faults and poor whiteness. A lake of fluid, rake eraser till paper is pressure burnt, 1,000 times crossed over. Take my name from the indexes, delete appendices, cut this branch at the quick. It was short, I told you. Our next reader is going to be Josh Trotter.
Hi. Hi. I had a very hard time trying to find a poem of someone else's to read in this issue because there is an awful lot of good stuff in here. And I sort of decided to go thematic. And there's a poem in here by Michael DeBuyer, which I have to find. It's called 2 Owls. And I like it very much. I'm not exactly sure what's happening. It's very mysterious, but I like it. 2 Owls. To hear an owl in the dark of the night room is to wake suddenly, expecting to hear an owl. To see it is to fall from the canopy, navigate each branch's dark solicitation effortlessly, and level out across the plain. A limb is a wing like a dream is a question dressed in the previous evening. The answer is someone who knows well enough to draw back the covers and consider who to tell. Even sleeping, one hears the quiet whispering between the rafters and the ceiling. This is a poem called Continuation of the History of Utopia. There were birds whose purpose was to record the movements of the masses, to repeat working-class conversation verbatim. I remember duplicate silhouettes along power lines where they'd match up and watch us talk hand in hand in the dusk. Their eyes were peepholes we couldn't shrink from, pinpricks the crimson sunset seeped through. And yet, in less time than predicted, we'd quit describing the incised rubies of their eyes or questioning to whom they sang their reports. We lived as always, sporting and shopping, and pausing at times to noiselessly cheer some crow confused by the cameras, gouging lenses loose, enraged by their beauty.